Hey, my friends! The atmosphere is heating up behind the scenes in Philadelphia, and there's a lot unfolding right now that every true Birds fan needs to understand, because this offseason is quietly shaping up to be one of the most important turning points we've seen in recent years. And I'm telling you, what's happening right now could define the direction of this franchise heading into 2026. But before we dive deeper, make sure you've already hit that like button if you've been riding with the Philadelphia Eagles for more than 20 years. It's always great to see fans from every generation showing up strong. And if you can, drop this in the comments. Go Eagles! Now let's get straight into it. The Eagles have officially revealed their 2026 offseason workout schedule, and while that might sound routine on the surface, there are some key details here that actually matter a lot more than people think. The program kicks off on April 20th, and the first phase will be limited strictly to meetings, conditioning, and rehab work. No surprises there. But once we move into the next phase, we start seeing on-field activities. Still controlled, still no contact. But this is where the foundation begins to take shape. Then comes the real point where things get interesting. OTAs. Mark your calendar. May 26th, 27th, 29th, then June 1st, 2nd, and 4th. This is where 7-on-7s, 9-on-7s, and full 11-on-11 drills begin. That's when we actually start seeing glimpses of what this new Eagles offense might look like under Sean Mannion. And yes, the mandatory minicamp follows shortly after on June 9th and 10th. Now here's something subtle but important. The Eagles are holding one more mandatory minicamp day than they did last year. That tells you something. This coaching staff understands that this offense is going through a full overhaul, and they want as many reps as possible to get it right. And speaking of Sean Mannion, we're still waiting to hear from him officially. But if you're wondering whether that delay is unusual, it's really not. Back in 2024, Kellen Moore didn't even have his first press conference until May during OTAs. So while it feels like forever, this is actually standard timing. Still, the anticipation is real, because this offense desperately needs clarity, identity, and direction. Because let's be honest, one of the biggest issues last season wasn't talent. It was structure. It was decision-making. It was coaching in critical moments. And that brings us directly to the situation surrounding Jalen Hurts. There's been a lot of noise lately. Criticism, speculation, even reports suggesting the Eagles are not planning to extend Hurts this offseason, essentially sending a message that he needs to elevate his play. Now, on the surface, that might sound concerning. But when you really break it down, it's not as alarming as some are making it out to be. Yes, Hurts hasn't been lighting up the stat sheet in the traditional sense. He's not throwing for 5,000 yards. He's not putting up 50 touchdowns. But what he has done is win, consistently. We're talking about a quarterback who has won nearly 70% of his career starts, made multiple Super Bowl appearances, and continues to show resilience despite constant changes around him. And that's the part people keep ignoring. This guy has dealt with multiple offensive coordinators, different systems, constant adjustments, and still finds ways to succeed. That's not a quarterback who can't be coached. That's a quarterback who's been forced to adapt over and over again. Now, there was also that controversial moment people keep talking about, the idea that Hurts may have called a four-verts play in a critical situation. Even if that were true, let's be real here. Shouldn't the offensive coordinator or head coach step in at that moment? Shouldn't there be a clear plan in place for high-pressure situations? That's where the real issue was. It wasn't just about Hurts. It was about a coaching staff that didn't always put players in the best position to succeed. And that's exactly why Sean Mannion's arrival is so important. He brings something different. He's been in the quarterback room. He understands the mental side of the game. He's experienced multiple systems himself. There's a real opportunity here for him and Hurts to build something stable. Something this team has been lacking for years. At the same time, the front office isn't sitting still. Howie Roseman is already exploring options at safety, making calls, evaluating potential trades. Names like Justin Reed and Deshaun Elliott have come up as possible fits, especially considering the importance of the position in Vic Fangio's defensive system. But even there's a debate. Do you go with a veteran via trade, or do you invest in a young talent through the draft? This year's safety class is deep, and the Eagles have already shown interest in multiple prospects. And that's the bigger picture here. This isn't just about one move. This isn't just about Jalen Hurts. This is about a franchise recalibrating, trying to find the right balance between immediate competitiveness and long-term stability. There are questions everywhere. Can Hurts take that next step in a new system? Will Mannion bring the offensive consistency this team desperately needs? Should the Eagles trust the draft at safety, or make a bold move via trade? And most importantly, are the Eagles truly building something stronger for 2026, or are we looking at a team still searching for its identity? I want to hear from you. Do you believe Jalen Hurts is still the right quarterback to lead the Eagles back to the Super Bowl? Or do you think the pressure from the organization is justified at this point? Because when you really zoom out and connect all the dots, this situation is much bigger than just off-season headlines. This is about the direction of the Philadelphia Eagles as a whole, and whether the foundation they're building right now is strong enough to get them back to the top of the NFL. And here's where things get even more interesting. Let's talk about A.J. Brown, because his name has quietly been floating around in rumors that honestly don't sit right with a lot of people. There's been speculation suggesting the Eagles could consider moving on from him, with some even pointing to a possible timeline around early June if a move were to happen. But the part that really raised eyebrows wasn't just the trade talk. It was the idea that his value might be dropping due to concerns about his knees and long-term durability. Some reports even suggested that teams might only be willing to offer something around a second-round pick. And I'm going to be real with you. If that's the price, it's very hard to imagine Howie Roseman pulling the trigger. We're talking about one of the most impactful wide receivers in the league when healthy, a guy who can completely change the dynamic of your offense. Letting him go for that kind of return? That doesn't sound like the Eagles we know. At the same time, you can't completely ignore the business side of this. Age, injuries, contract situations, all of that plays a role. But still, moving A.J. Brown would send a massive message, not just to the locker room, but to Jalen Hurts as well. And that's why everything feels connected right now. Because while the offense is being rebuilt under Sean Mannion, while Hurts is being evaluated, while the front office is exploring moves at safety, there's also this underlying question about who this team is truly committing to long-term. Now shifting to the defensive side again, because this is another area where things are evolving fast, the safety position is still very much in flux. We talked about potential trade options like Justin Reed, a player the Eagles previously showed interest in, and someone who could immediately bring experience and stability to the secondary. But there's also a strong argument for going young. This draft class is loaded at the position, and the Eagles have done their homework. Multiple prospects have already been on their radar, with meetings conducted and evaluations underway. The idea of pairing a rookie with Andrew Mukuba might sound risky due to lack of experience, but it also offers long-term upside, something this team clearly values. And don't forget, they brought back Marcus Epps on a one-year deal, which gives them a safety net if things don't go as planned. So again, it's about balance. Immediate help versus future development. Now, one thing that hasn't been talked about enough is just how important this season is for multiple people inside the organization. We all know Nick Sirianni is under pressure. Another early playoff exit? That could change everything. And if that happens, what does it mean for Jalen Hurts? Because that's the other layer here. The Eagles not rushing into a contract extension isn't just about performance. It's about flexibility. If there's a coaching change in the near future, they may not want to lock a new head coach into a quarterback situation they didn't choose. That's how front offices think. That's how Howie Roseman operates, always keeping options open. And while all of this is happening, there's still belief inside the building that Hurts can respond the way he always has, by proving people wrong. History shows that when he's doubted, he tends to elevate his game. So now, everything comes down to execution. Can this new offensive system finally unlock consistency? Can Hurts take another step forward as a passer within that system? Can the defense, especially the secondary, find the right combination to hold up against elite offenses? Because if the answer to those questions is yes, then suddenly all this noise disappears. And we're right back to talking about the Eagles as legitimate Super Bowl contenders. But if not, then this offseason won't just be remembered as a period of adjustments, it'll be remembered as the beginning of major changes in Philadelphia. So now it's your turn, Eagles Nation. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to click on the video that's on your screen right now. Because if you want to stay updated with everything happening around the Philadelphia Eagles, the latest news is right here. First, go Eagles!